I remembered that my soul chose to come to Earth. I remembered where I was before I was born.
What made me come back was that I had agreed to do this before I was born.
Why are we here? To learn to love.
I was in a beautiful, beautiful field. The flowers were so vibrant and alive.
And I realized I was looking at none other than Jesus Christ, the Son of God.
I found myself not only forgiving her, there actually, after seeing everything so clearly and seeing why she was the way she was and who she really was on a soul level, after seeing that, there wasn't even a need to forgive her. It was just a big, oh, I get it now.
So if I had committed a loving action, it was like love upon light. A purely loving action was the most wonderful thing that I could ever achieved in my life.
NDEs, or near-death experiences, are stories of those who have briefly crossed the threshold of death but were resuscitated. Testimonies reveal experiences of the realm beyond death. Decades of reports of NDEs from patients and doctors have been collected. Select experiences share esoteric insights into understanding the nature of the life after life and shine a light on the great questions of the human soul.
I felt not only that I was loved unconditionally, it was like I just was loved just because I existed, no other reason, but I also felt unconditional love for everyone and everything, even for people that may have hurt me during my life. All I felt for them was unconditional love and compassion and a knowing that no matter what they did, even if they hurt me really badly, no matter what they did, they were still doing the best they knew how at the time. It was like I understood why they did what they did. So there was no, it's like that feeling of unconditional love is not even a feeling of forgiveness towards those that hurt you. It's beyond forgiveness. It's like, I understand why you did what you did, and therefore there's nothing to even forgive. Because when I understand you, to me, it means you haven't even done anything wrong. To forgive someone means to say you've done something wrong and I forgive you. So there's even a judgment there. There was like no judgment. It's like a knowing. It's almost like having walked a mile in their shoes. It's a knowing that if I was in your shoes, I would have done the same. So there's nothing to forgive. That's the kind of feeling of unconditional love. And in that realm, that was all I could feel for everyone. And that was what I felt that I was surrounded with. And I encountered my father, who had passed away 10 years before, and my best friend, Sony, who had passed away 2 years prior to that. And I was also surrounded by other beings who I didn't recognize. But all I felt from them was this unconditional love, as though they were there purely to help me, to guide me, help me through this transition.
I stood up, I turned around, and there was Jesus. And I don't know if I ran to him or he came to me. I mean, all of a sudden we were there. He just smiled at me, and I felt all this emotion that he had for me. I finally felt like I was home. It was like I stepped into, finally I belonged. This is where I belonged. I was home.
Valerie had been a Christian for most of her life. but says she never believed that God really loved her.
In my heart of hearts, I did not believe that I was worthy of his love. Because I always felt like I was never going to measure up to what I thought the Lord wanted from me. So when I felt his emotion, I felt how he felt about me, and the things that I thought about myself, like my flaws or my issues, he never even noticed. He just wants me. It wasn't anything that I did for him. It wasn't my performance, nothing. It was just me. I wasn't just loved by him, but he was in love with me. And I was his. That was it. I was done for. And I thought, but then realizing this is how he feels about his creation, those that he's created, whether they know him yet or not. This is how he feels.
Valerie says she felt like she was there for 1,000 years and experienced life and love like she never had on earth. Then, Jesus told her she had to go back with a message.
He said, you can stay if you want to. And I said, well, if I can stay, I'm staying with you. I'm going to stay with you. And he said, but your purpose isn't done. And he said, I want you to tell the people who I am, who I really am. Because I thought he was, religious. I thought he was mean. I thought he was, I didn't think he was, human. And he's human. He'll always be human, but he's God. I didn't want to leave him. I hated leaving, but I had to come back.
I'm like in this void where I feel the most divine presence I've ever felt in my life. And I knew it was that truth or that true God / source that I was looking for all my life. The first thing, I had a bunch of questions in my head and they were all answered right away. They went in the order like this. I'm going to reintroduce myself to you. Yes, I'm real. Yes, angels are real. They're a gift from me. Want to meet them? And I said no. I was very scared. I didn't believe in angels as it was. I didn't believe angels existed. I thought that was just something on TV. So I ended up seeing a projection screen that popped up, and I can see it right now. It had a picture, and it was like a video of a girl, like a prostitute, walking by. And then there was another guy with a briefcase and a suit, and he was walking by. And then there was a stoner guy with a skateboard walking by. He says, I love all of them the same. Then I also seen another guy. It looked like he was walking out of a bank, and he was dragging his son by his neck. He had a hold of his neck, and he was just dragging him because he was angry. And then the next thing that the source said was, I don't like that. It wasn't in a judging kind of way. It was just more like, I don't like that. And then I asked him, I said, well, how am I supposed to and mind you, it's not audible words. These are all telepathic thoughts. So I felt the emotion in the words, and I heard them in my head, like as clear as day. So I said, well, how am I supposed to explain you if I'm gonna go back to Earth? Because I felt the most love I've ever felt in my life. And I knew I was not here. The next thing he says was, I will go to the end of the world so everyone is with me. And after that, I just felt him. I didn't see his face. I didn't see his figure, his shadow, or anything like that. But I felt him get on a knee and give me a hug. And it was like the biggest, I felt real arms around me. And I was wondering, can I just go with you now? Like, I don't really want to go back where I was. I felt so much love. And I said, well, let me get perfect. I don't deserve to be in your presence right now. Let me go back and live, get perfect, and come back. He's saying, no, I love you how you are now. I was thinking the whole entire time, what am I supposed to tell people? They're not going to believe me. They're going to doubt me. They're going to think I'm crazy, like a real life crazy person. But then that's when he says, go and tell everyone that I love them.
and I was very aware of the fact that I had just died. But I was also the me that had existed from the moment that God had created me. The light came to me as if I was in the middle of the tunnel, yet it went on for eternity. I remember being so at peace and so bathed in this light and this love.
She knew she was in the presence of God.
I didn't see a face. I didn't see any features other than this beautiful light. And words like amazing and perfect and beautiful, they fall so drastically short. I could not get enough of him. I could not breathe enough of him in. I could not get close enough to the light, and the light was all over me.
Then, Crystal says she tried to ask God a question.
I wanted to know why he didn't love me, or why he lets bad things happen. And yet as I stood in front of him and I faced him and I fell to my knees and I raised my hands, the question I called out to him was, why didn't I do more for you? Because in an instant, he revealed his true self to me, which is love. I had never truly worshiped God ever in my entire life, but I fell in front of him and I worshiped him. And as I lay there in worship and awe of this Creator, I remember saying I could worship you for eternity.
This time, he saw Jesus.
The first thing that comes to me is he's bright, just like John says, he's brighter than the noonday sun. And the next phrase I say, I wish people could grab it, and it's this one, and we can look at him. And what you're looking at is not so much the physical part of it. You're really experiencing the love he has for you. And I tell people it's like he only loves you and no one else. I saw him communicating to angels. He would just look at them. Communication there was thought to thought. They would acknowledge his receiving his information, bow before him like this, and then back out. And it was like, wow.
I was greeted by a group of the most joyous spirits. And these were spirits that I couldn't identify as, oh gee, there's my father or my babysitter. Because each of these spirits were more than just that one person. All colors in one at the same time. And they were so filled with love. And that's true of everything having to do with heaven and every angel I talked to. There's this all-encompassing sense of love and joy. So they greeted me, and we communicated, although not in English, not with our mouths. It was a form of communication that made me truly, truly understand how God can speak to people of different languages, and everyone understands them in their own language.
My first sense in meeting Jesus was this. I said this in my mind, and that is, so this is love. Because oftentimes, in this world, with relationships we have here, we think of love in terms of an emotion, an action, but Jesus is love. God is love. The Bible tells us that. And so in meeting the person of love, it was entirely different. He didn't have to say, I love you, because I knew it. His whole persona was love at that point. And I just caved down to my knees, and he lifted me up. And he said, trust me, trust me. And I could feel the whiskers, they were soft of his beard, his face.
He had a beard.
He did have a beard, yes. Brown hair, longer
It's
brown
like the image that people might think or grew up in a church thinking that Jesus would look like, or?
Yes, very Middle Eastern, and I really didn't look at his face until I eventually, when he had lifted me up and he was by my side, I turned and I saw his eyes. They were a brown, olive color, and he looked through me and he tunneled into everything dark about me. So the light of Jesus Christ had tunneled through into my darkest places and illuminated me with a peace and a comfort that I had never in my whole life before and after experienced. To say it was spectacular or amazing would be a gross understatement. I wasn't concerned at that point of what was around me, because all I wanted to be was in the presence of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And he spent time with me. It wasn't until after he always had his arm around me after we started taking a walk.
So I'm going to give you like a little exercise on maybe how you can get yourself into a position of experiencing unconditional love or feeling it for yourself while in the body. Have you ever been moved to tears by something, like maybe by love or beauty or gratitude, or just had that feeling where you were just so moved that you literally cried? You know how strong and vibrant that is, and how cleansing and all-consuming it can be. The unconditional love that we feel in the afterlife is like 100 or 1,000 times more intense than that. So take that feeling and take away the tears and substitute joy. And so make it a joyous love or joyous movement that you're feeling. And then turn it around and send it back to yourself. And that will give you a tiny little taste of what unconditional love really feels like.
And as I got closer to God, I felt so much better than I'd ever felt before. I just felt peace and love and great harmony, and like everything was right. Nothing was wrong. I don't know if you feel this way in your body, but generally there's a little pain, or there's a little uncomfortableness, or you're worried about what you're going to do later. We're never just totally blissed out, totally to a 1/1,000,000th degree. That's what I felt in the presence of God. I felt so loved, so taken care of, and it was like an atomic bomb of love. It just was so enormous, I couldn't contain it all. And for the first time, I was safe to love God too, and that's a beautiful feeling, because not only do we want to be loved, we want to love 100%. And I knew that God was safe. I could love with everything I was. And so that exchange was so beautiful. Never wanted to leave it, wanted to know more, wanted to go to the other side of whatever this was, but I was stopped. So I was getting closer and closer to that light. And at some point there was like a barrier.
God not only loves us, but loves us unconditionally. No matter how dark our past may be, God loves us perfectly. He does not focus on our flaws. He sees only a person to be loved, loving you even simply because you exist. As we progress in further questions of the soul, we will find insights into questions that may still trouble us, such as why a loving God permits suffering and evil to exist, who we are that makes us worthy of love, how to show love to others, and what God has done to show love to humanity.